Have you ever made a choice, just a little choice, and it led to a series of consequences you never could have predicted? Well, if you have, then you're going to relate to my guest today. She went down a path she never intended, but that's not the end of her story. ELAINE Grant, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It is amazing how, choices that you make in your life, you can't envision where that's going to take you, but sometimes it really is just a choice, and then all of a sudden you're in a place that you never imagined.
Exactly.
You grew up in Jamaica, you had a great upbringing there, but really when you came to Canada, things started to go the wrong way. A couple family friends, molested you.
Mm-hmm.
How did that change the trajectory of your life?
It brought me to a dark place. Just how I was as a young child, I was so free-spirited, and then after things started happening to me, I found that I started to shut down.
Because you never told anybody.
No, it was something that I kept to myself.
And so how did that impact how you saw life and how you saw yourself?
I didn't feel protected. I felt open. I felt like I was on display. For anybody that wanted to do anything to me, they were able to do it. I didn't feel safe. Yeah.
And I think this is a great question because most kids don't tell their parents.
Exactly.
But for parents who are like, why didn't you tell your parents?
I didn't tell my parents because I didn't want to cause any problems. I know my parents would have believed me, but I didn't want to cause any trouble. I just wanted to let things continue as they were. I didn't want there to be any arguments or any fight, so I kept it to myself.
Because the people that were doing this to you were actually
they were friends of my parents.
You started really starting to rebel as you got older after this. And a lot of that, I'm sure, was that anger about what happened to you.
Yes, and at the same time too, like as a teenager, you want to be free. You want to, I felt like other teenagers were doing things and going to parties and things like that, and I felt my parents were overprotective. Now I understand, but at the time I wanted to be free. I wanted to have fun.
And they were really strict too,
They
right?
were very strict.
Your
yes.
dad, he used...
My dad was very strict, yes.
Yeah, corporal punishment on you. And that started getting a little bit out of control, like started scaring you. So what happened with that?
Yes, I remember it made me afraid of my dad, and I didn't like that. But I remember the day that it came to a boiling point that it's like he came home and, next thing I knew, we were having it out. And I remember the look I saw in his eyes was, that's not my dad. That's my dad that I knew who loved me, but for some reason he was just angry and it was coming across and we were fighting, like physically fighting.
That's terrifying. So you decided to run away,
I did,
basically.
I did because I was scared and I wanted to be free. I wanted to live my life because I thought I was, held down, restricted. So I decided that, no, I want to leave and go live my life and be free.
And that was the decision that we're talking about, the one decision that started everything, because you tried to get a waitressing job because you had to support yourself now.
Exactly.
But it turned out really not to quite be waitressing. So what happened there?
When we went to the club, my friend and I that ran away together, we ended up at the club and, we thought, okay, we wanted to be waitresses, but we were told, no, the part of the job was also to take your clothes off. And at first, we were like, oh, no, we can't. This is not what we wanted. But then being there, they started talking to us and said, no, it's not so bad. Just do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And sure enough, we did try it. And they put both of us on stage. And next thing we know, we took our clothes off and we had entered into that world.
And you really then got sucked into that world, because it's not just stripping, it's also drinking, it's also drugs. Sometimes it's prostitution. So tell me a little bit about that season of your life.
It was different because I wasn't raised that way. And I started, in order to take my clothes off, I got into the place where I started drinking and getting high. And that's what some of the girls did, in order to be able to do that. You had to kind of come out of yourself, bury yourself, actually. And I started to drink more and get high just to be able to at least, do that and get money. Because otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get a table dance.
Yeah, and that's such a common story. You met a man, which sometimes, you hope that's the salvation of that story, but unfortunately he wasn't. You met a man, you fell in love, you had a beautiful daughter.
Yes.
But The relationship.
It didn't. At first, it was, you know, I was so dependent on him, and at the same time, you know, he became an enabler, you know, because when I wanted my drugs, my this, what have you, but at the same time, he tried to support me, but the relationship wasn't what I wanted. I was still empty. It wasn't fulfilling to me at all.
And you were drinking a lot, and that wasn't helping.
A lot. Just burying my feelings, and I felt a lot of rejection. I felt I was ashamed of what I was doing, you know. So I kept digging myself deeper and deeper.
Did you ever have one of those moments of like, how did I get here? Like, what am I doing? Like, you know, those moments of clarity of like, whoa, I didn't mean to end up where I am.
Yes. Especially when I used to go out of town and different people I used to meet. And I remember at nighttime, I actually used to cry, you know, because it's like, oh my gosh, that's so not me. That's not how I was raised to be this person. I felt like I didn't know that person, which happened that I changed my name, because as a dancer, you change your name. And I didn't relate to Elaine anymore. You know, I relate to my stage name, so I had completely become somebody else.
Yeah, you disconnected to become another person.
Exactly.
Well, we're going to continue with your story, and I promise you that there is a light at the end of this tunnel. When we come back, Elaine talks about this moment where she is literally hanging over the toilet. The alcohol is literally causing you to come out of your body. You're so sick. You think you're going to die. We're going to bring that story to you in just a moment.